First, we want to tell you that today marks the second day of Paul Manafort's trial in Virginia. Manafort is charged with tax evasion and filing false loan documents. The average sentence for tax fraud in this country is a little over a year in prison, a year and 3 months. Manafort is facing 305 years in prison. He is 69 years old. He has never been charged with a crime. If he's convicted in this trial, Paul Manafort will die in prison. The left thinks that's just fine. Manafort ran Donald Trump's presidential campaign. They believe he deserves to die for that. Well, watching from the White House, the president tweeted this today about the trial, quote, "Looking back on history, who was treated worse, Alphonse Capone, legendary mob boss, killer, and public enemy #1, or Paul Manafort, political operative and Reagan Dole darling, now serving solitary confinement, although convicted of nothing? Where is the Russian collusion?" It's an interesting point, actually. Al Capone ordered the murders of scores of people. He got an 11-year sentence and was released after just 8. He was barely 40 years old when he got out of prison, probably because he never made the mistake of managing an unfashionable political campaign. The plan for Paul Manafort, meanwhile, is to ensure that he dies behind bars. Mueller's lead prosecutor in this case, Andrew Weissmann, is working hard to make sure that happens. If you were at Hillary Clinton's election night party in New York City, you may recognize Andrew Weissmann. He was there, too, hoping to celebrate Hillary's victory. Now he's doing the next best thing, avenging Hillary's defeat. Keep in mind that in America, justice is supposed to be evenly applied. It may be the best thing about our country. Political differences aren't supposed to get you locked behind bars. And then came the resistance, and everything changed. Opposing Trump became a matter of total war, whatever it takes, even if it means corrupting our justice system and ending a man's life. Dan Bongino is a former Secret Service agent, NRA TV contributor, author of the brand new book Spygate, The Attempted Sabotage of Donald J. Trump. Dan Bongino joins us now. So Dan, I hate to think that any prosecution is politically motivated, but in a country in which a year and 3 months is the average sentence for tax evasion, to see a man facing 305 years raises red flags, to put it mildly.
Tucker, this case is a disgrace. Listen, I was a federal agent. I don't know Paul Manafort. I don't know what he's guilty of or not guilty of, but I am familiar with federal investigations and the tactics used. And I can tell you with a clean conscience, I have never, ever seen heavy-handed government tactics like this used for what is essentially a process crime and basically a white-collar crime for a guy with no criminal pedigree at all to speak of. This is unheard of. You know, you said at the beginning of the show, justice is supposed to be even-handed. It's supposed to be blind too, Tucker, but it appears to be blind only to Democrats. Paul Manafort is guilty of something. He's guilty of helping Donald Trump win, and that's what's bothering the Mueller probe.
So the point of criminal punishment is to render justice, to do something proportionate, appropriate, to send the statement, we don't accept this kind of behavior. That's why we punish tax evasion, and we should. And also to protect the public, to make sure that someone who's a threat to the rest of us is no longer walking free. In this case, the prosecution didn't even explain how he defrauded the banks. Did the banks lose money? I don't think they did. They didn't explain how much he should have paid in federal taxes but didn't. And I don't think there's a single person in America who feels a physical threat or even a moral threat from 69-year-old Paul Manafort. I mean, they're not even pretending this isn't political.
No, they're not. If they are, they're doing a really poor job. And it really begs the question, Tucker, if the federal government and all the taxpayer assets that support it thought Paul Manafort was such a threat to the Republic, why didn't they warn the Trump team? Barack Obama was the president of the United States, not the Democrat Party. Why didn't they warn the Trump team that this dangerous threat that had to be put in solitary confinement, that had to have the full force of the government weaponized against him? Why didn't they warn them? The answer is because they didn't believe that. I told you, Manafort is guilty of something. He's guilty of helping Donald Trump win. And by the way, Tucker, some of the same process crimes and suspicious activity Mueller's accused Manafort of, ironically enough, Democrats accused of the same thing, or people connected to Democrats, seem to have gotten up to this point a relatively free legal pass.
Even as a matter of, for appearances, would you, if you were Robert Mueller, appoint as the lead prosecutor in a case against Donald Trump's former campaign manager, a Hillary partisan who went to her victory party on election night?
Tucker, They're not. I'm laughing because this is a joke. They're not even hiding it. Can I double down on you?
Yeah.
How about this? Andrew Weissman, yes, attended Hillary's party. Jeannie Rhee, who was one of his lead prosecutors in the case, represented the Clinton Foundation. Aaron Zebley, Tucker, another prosecutor in the case who's friendly with the whole Mueller crew, represented one of the Clinton guys involved in the destruction of the BlackBerries as a lawyer. This is really happening right now. And by the way, other ones are donors to Democratic candidates. You would think a guy with Bob Mueller's level of intelligence, no one's claiming he's a dumb guy, by the way. You would think he would be smart enough to pick this out and pick other lawyers and at least attempt to look nonpartisan. For some reason, they don't seem to care.
Yeah, or they're totally lacking in self-awareness. Almost everybody in that world is lacking self-awareness because they don't know anyone who disagrees with them, which is part of the problem. Dan Bongino, thank you, as always, for the clear explanation.
Thank you, sir.